Okay, so we just need a little calculator now. So we were thinking of a title. It's Ends. What does it? Because we're going to kind of like show it's kind of like in this boy's kind of hometown. So the plot is basically it's going to be a kind of a boy and his older brothers in prison for drugs, and kind of he was involved with like gangs, and basically the gangs are now like coming after his younger brother, but he's not aware of it yet. So we were just thinking of doing that. A boy's kind of walking home from school, and he's just like on his phone looking at like what he could achieve by kind of being involved with gangsters as well, like making a lot of money, and it kind of intrigues him. And when he gets home, he just kind of goes into his brother's room and looks around at his possessions, and he just kind of reads a letter or something that reminds him of his brother just before he went away. And it's going to quickly cut to kind of like these 3 or 4 men like walking up the stairs like in slow motion, and like really building up tension, especially as the boy's not aware that they're coming for him. And we were just going to kind of end it that there's a really loud like bang on the door, and it's just going to have a close-up of him really nervous and sweating because he doesn't know kind of who it is. So we kind of leave it on a kind of cliffhanger, so it could develop into a film. Yeah.
Linking from the last slides, to explain the start of the film, he's basically fantasizing over this like gangster lifestyle. Those who are familiar with like the gangster genre, it could be like a subgenre we do. Even though this is a thriller, we could incorporate the subgenre of like gangster films. That he really wants to be part of this like gangster lifestyle, so he's fantasizing over all the trappings of this gangster lifestyle. Because this is a British film, we adapt it from the American gangster films, so he's obsessed with the clothing that they wear, the luxury suits that he might see them in. As you see, it says Instagram, so we're seeing all these expensive goods that people are getting through the gangster lifestyle is the way we'd adapt it to our British gangster film. I think it's also important to make it, we want to make like a kind of grimy, gritty thriller. No, it's not going to be polished, and it's not going to be very like theatrical. It will be very real, and we think we could do this by having all these different aspects of like a West London setting. So I was thinking to do it in like an estate or a block of flats. Pia, Ben?
So it's the main idea of the block of flats. So it's where the person will be living, as well as we have, as Morgan pointed out, the clothes that he would be fantasizing about, and all like the goods that he will be getting. And we have like the boss, like the drug lord, as a type of big rich kind of person with wearing a suit. Well, his underlings, or what you call them, are wearing the type of like puff jackets.
Yeah, that's his right hand man, and yeah, I don't know what else to say really.
And there's a starter pack which just shows you
Just kind of like their possessions and everything of what the typical. This was based on, so basically the films that inspired us to kind of for our opening was I know Top Boy is a series, but it still kind of links in with the genre kidulthood and adulthood. They basically are just quite like Morgan was saying before, they're unpolished, and it's quite similar to how kind of we would want to film our openings as well. It's also they're also like London-based shows and films as well, so it would be quite relatable for us as well. And yeah, the story as well is quite linked to especially kidulthood, and it's mainly aged at kind of our age group as well, so it would be quite a relatable opening scene to do. That's all.
Thank you very much. And you'd now like feedback, I assume.
Enough.
With your film, do you have like a set title, or?
It's not fully decided upon. That's
Yeah.
Have you got
that's the
any
working title.
ideas?
Oh yeah. Ends.
Ends, is that your
It's kind
main
of
one
what-
that you're thinking to go towards because of the location?
Yeah, that's mainly why, because especially as it's predominantly set in like a London kind of estate kind of thing, so we thought Ends would be the most kind of relatable title. And also as a majority of the film would be set there if it were to kind of be made into an actual film, so we thought it would relate to it.
Yeah, with your title Ends, do you think that will portray the thriller genre as in the way you want it to? Because like listening to or reading the name Ends, it sounds more like a urbany London like gangster film, as in like selling drugs, getting girls, fighting. Like Ends like sounds like wars between estates and stuff like that.
No, what we were also thinking of doing was, again, not having any dialogue, as we don't need any, because you don't really, it's only one boy kind of starring in it. We wouldn't really need anyone kind of speaking, and also it would build up a lot of tension, so we'd make sure we had the key conventions of the thriller genre in there as well.
Okay, yeah.
I really like the idea of the film. Are you not a bit worried that like it's been done so many times before that it's going to be difficult to actually make it stand out? Because like even the examples of films you've given, like Kidulthood and Adulthood, they're both fantastic films. And like trying to recreate something like that in comparison to it, obviously it's not going to be at the same level because it's only making it at school. But are you not scared that all the ideas have been done before?
I understand what you're saying. We had about 30 different ideas, all based around like our area, our region. We thought, what's the most realistic thing we could create from this situation? We all live around like West London area, and we think, what's the most realistic thing we could do for a thriller? And we like got rid of 30 different ideas and like concised it down to one. And we felt this is the most realistic thing we could produce. This is the most gritty thing we could produce. This is the most real thing we could produce. Jade.
Are you going to introduce the opening to a thriller without any dialogue and making sure that you do introduce like the main idea without having to spoil everything that's going to come up anyway? It was a question.
Sorry. So what we were going to have like a kind of low, kind of like score playing throughout, and so it'd be quite like a sinister tone. So it would be a build-up of tension as well. We would make sure that we had all the conventions in there. Obviously, it's only a rough kind of idea for now, and I'm sure by the time we come to film it, things will change by then. But we would just really make sure that we kind of like we also wanted to incorporate quite a lot of like red herrings in there as well, and kind of like things that will distract the audience from actually kind of thinking what will happen. So because he's not expecting the knock at the door, he'll kind of like he'll quite be on edge throughout the whole thing as well. So we'll make sure there's a lot of tension. So I suppose thrillers have a lot of tension in them as well. So hopefully it's relatable.
Do you plan to mention like the Judge Lord and the backstory of the brother from the opening?
I think we've decided to hint at it. We don't want to give you the whole plot. We want to just give you like a little taster to give you an impression of, oh, this might be happening, oh, this might be happening. So you have the main stem of the plot that's just based around the younger brother, whereas like Jordana says, you have different like avenues or red herring as to different things you're thinking about to keep your mind ticking over while you're watching the opening plot. So no.
I just wonder, I want to go back to a point that Anelka made at the beginning. So when you're talking about your film, you've said about it being, you've used the words like gritty and grime and gangster and drugs and real and social. I just wonder whether it's actually going to be a film that's more in the social realism genre, like Kidulthood and Adulthood, and whether that's actually straying too far from the thriller aspect. I'm not sure where the mystery is. So there's going to be somebody knocking at the door, I get that, but because you've already established that he's looking at the trappings of a gangster lifestyle, so somebody knocking on the door as an audience, I think you'd think it's drug related, it's kind of that gangster lifestyle related, and expect to see much more of that in the film. But is that setting up a real sense of mystery? I can see there'd be tension. I could see it would be, you know, there might be elements where you perhaps anticipate some violence, not that you're showing violence in yours. But is that really creating a sense of enigma, a sense of mystery? My warning bells are that you are going to head towards that social realism genre rather than the thriller genre.
I think you're kind of steering towards the gangster genre,
Yeah.
like more focusing on that. It's not a bad thing, 'cause it's a really good idea, and I don't think a lot of people that'd be the first thing you'd think of for a thriller. So I think it's a good idea, but I just think you're kind of leading more towards that instead of a thriller.
We take your points on board, and we understand that we'll do as much as we can in the production to ensure that it's not veering off to different subgenres, but keep it more of a mystery for the audience. We respect your points. Thank you very much. And I think Anelka, you had a question.
Just to add to the two criticisms, with the moving over to like the subculture, I think audiences as being part of it, I think we go for the more simple thing to think about. So if you are showing us a block of flats with flashes of a drug lord and stuff like that, I think we automatically think, this is going to be about guns, violence,
Yeah.
drugs. I think if you take away the flashes of the drug lord and stuff, I think you can create more of a mystery aspect to it.
Yeah.
So if you don't put in like the explicit content that you're thinking of.
Less is more.
Yeah.
I think the mystery would also come from the boy